Well, what you decide and what you start to realize is going to make a huge impact on the way you survive in the economy in the next 18 to 24 months. Now, the government and Wall Street would like you to believe that we're heading towards a soft landing. That continues to be the narrative. Now, there's lots of advantages for Wall Street and the administration. Administration certainly doesn't want to be blamed for bringing a recession to our doorsteps. But what you decide is going to make a huge difference to you. And who is most concerned about you? You are. So let's just talk about what's going on in our world, and let's just talk about this. Now, the administration's out. Janet Yellen was just out saying, our labor markets continue to be strong. I don't expect a recession. Well, that's the narrative. Let me go to my next slide. We've got more narrative. Wall Street Journal, a soft landing is in sight for the U.S. economy. CNBC, the pathway to a soft landing is still very much possible. Bloomberg's out saying labor data to fuel soft landing narrative. Reuters, Wall Street ends week higher on soft landing hopes. And of course, Wall Street would love you to think that the rates are going to be slow and the economy is not going to go into recession and the economy is going to turn around and everything is going to be just fine. But what's really going on? Let's take a look at this. So here we are. This is the difference between a soft landing and a hard landing. So when you're in a soft landing, which has only happened like once in the 90s, we actually got a soft landing. You're in low inflation. You know, you have slow rates. What happened in the 90s is that the maestro, raised rates just very little bit. He just tapped the brakes on the economy. The economy slowed down, and we had a great 90s. We had no recession in the 90s. It was just an absolutely great. So from like 91 through 1999, we had absolutely outstanding economy. And we had easy bank lending. Liquidity was being slowly added to the economy. Rates were stable. Inflation was stable. Now let's contrast that to today. We've got the rapid Fed hikes. I mean, this is like historic. It's like every quarter we've been raising interest rates. We just had one in July. They're talking about another one, maybe two yet this year. You know, and Wall Street saying, oh, no, they're going to pivot. They're going to pivot, the big pivot. Well, that's to keep you involved. That's to keep your money. You know, it's AUM, assets under management, that counts for most of the houses on Wall Street. They're not concerned whether you make any money. They just want to make sure they have your money because they get paid on your money. So all these managers, they have AUM concerns, assets under management. So they keep telling you, we don't have a problem. We don't have a hard landing coming. So we've got these Fed hikes that we're just now starting to feel the results of and the effects of the fact that we're raising interest rate because they have these lags. It takes a long time for the lag to take effect. And now we have inflation problems because they raised liquidity. I mean, we put trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars into the economy in 20 and 21. And you can see it on every graph I've ever shown you. We can just see this enormous bubble that happened, caused inflation. I mean, what do you think is going to happen when you put trillions of dollars into the economy? Well, you get this rapid monetary credit expansion. And you all know that how banks are getting back these buildings. I mean, they're all over San Francisco. People are giving back the office buildings and hotels are going back to the bank. They are defaulting on their loans. This is going to cause bank tightening. We've had banks go down because of it. PacWest just went down last week. It was sold to a much smaller bank. That's because all the bigger banks said they didn't want it. And of course, this gives us less and less reserves in the bank, which causes greater and greater tightening. I'm going to tell you, in my business in housing, they've raised the credit limits. So unless you've got a credit score of 720 or 730, your interest rates are a lot higher. So yes, they can quote you 6.5%, 6.75%. That's if you have a 780 or 800 credit score. Most people are like 620 or 640. They get a increase in their rates because they're considered a higher risk. So let's just look soft landing or hard landing. Looks to me like we're looking directly at a hard landing. I don't see a soft landing in our future. Now, in order to confirm that, I mean, all you have to do is just look. So here we are with bankruptcies. You can see that the bankruptcies are as high as they were, or heading as high as they were in COVID territory. Now, in COVID, the government shut down the economy. It's just going to be 2 weeks, and it ended up for a long, long time, particularly if you were in California. A lot of companies, and if you were a restaurant or a bar or a small business, you were a coffee shop, you were just taking it on the chin. And going back, let's take COVID out of the picture. You go all the way back to the great financial crisis before you start seeing bankruptcies at this level. So we are in trouble on this. There's no way to hide that. We are in trouble. Bankruptcies are beyond a shadow of a doubt rising. And here's another culprit. The government keeps borrowing. And when they start taking money out of the system and they spend it, that means we can't spend it. It's not there for us. And the government is negative debt. They don't do anything with it. They consume it. When we as investors, we do things with it, we build things with it, we make things with it, we expand businesses, we employ people. But when you give it to the government, they don't do any of those things. It's just as like a loss. And they're getting to the point where they're just to service the debt is more than what we spend on defense spending. This is a very, very bad thing. Look at the trajectory of that interest payment. Now, if rates keep going up, that means it's going to be sucking all the available capital out of the system just to pay the interest payment. That's not paying down the debt. That's just paying for the debt. And it's going up. Let me go to my next slide. So here we are. Let's just take a look at where we are in this. Inflation is at the highest it's been in 20 years. That does not go along with the soft landing narrative. Interest rates are at the highest in 20 years. So-called unemployment is at the lowest in 50 years. We're going to talk about that just shortly. Credit card debt is at an historic all-time high. And I'm going to tell you, if your credit is not the best, you are going to pay somewhere in the low 20s to the mid 20s in interest rate on your credit card. So if you rack up credit card debt, they're going to charge you 23, 24, 25. I even heard like 26% interest on your credit card debt. You're going to be a pauper all your life. Pay these guys off. This is one of the first courses of business right now. Pay off your credit cards. Get out of debt. How can you possibly be paying someone 20% interest on a credit card? Can't do that. But I understand why, because personal savings is an all-time low. So when you run out of savings, the next thing you do is you start expanding your credit. Now, you're eventually going to get to the point where you don't have any savings, you don't have any credit, and then you're going to be in real trouble. So start savings, pay that credit cards down, get some cash, get some real cash. You may not want to put it in a bank. Make sure you've got this cash in your hand, and that's what we do for this time. Now, here's one of the major problems what's happening with liquidity is that monthly housing payments have doubled. This is why I keep telling you that the builders are in trouble. Now, no one's talking about the builders, but the builders had a historic run. Boy, I'm going to tell you, if you're a builder in 20 and 21, you made a lot of money. You just people were standing in line to buy new homes. But here's the problem: is now you couldn't deliver these homes. Part shortages absolutely everywhere, labor shortages everywhere. You can't get air conditioners, you can't get shingles, you can't get glass, you can't get doors, you can't get flooring, and you can't complete these buildings. So now when you're starting to get to completing, the interest rates have gone up so much that the monthly payments have doubled, and now the buyer that you built the house for can no longer qualify for this property. So now it becomes a spec. Builders are not in a business of building specs. They are in a business of selling to buyers. And they're scared to death. They're trying to get rid of these as quickly as they can. They are making deals on commissions. For us, it's nice. They've raised their commissions. They're buying down interest rates. They're giving packages and incentives. They're doing landscape packages and appliance packages. They're putting in draperies. They're putting in blinds. They're doing flooring and upgrade packages to get these properties sold. They want to build out their land banks as quickly as they possibly can because they're scared to death. If you want to make some money, if you're a first-time home buyer, go beat up a builder. Go make some money on them. But make sure that you can afford the payments. Make sure your job is is stable, and you've got some reserves. Otherwise, don't do that. But nonetheless, these guys are targets to do that. Let me go to my next slide. And I'm going to tell you, they've been talking about manufacturing. All you hear is how good manufacturing is. I'm going to tell you, for the last 18, 19, 20 months, you can see. I mean, look at the pop. That's where the liquidity came in. We just exploded to the upside. I mean, there's trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars of liquidity put in. And now for June, we're down to negative 4%. We're actually contracting in manufacturing, and it is in very big trouble. You know, people say we don't make anything in America. That's just not true. We make lots of things in America. We make lots and lots of things. People have manufacturing jobs. We have skilled labor jobs and skilled manufacturing jobs. And a lot of these people are losing their jobs. Look at this. Look at this next slide. This is very telling. So we just got this. I mean, literally like today. So July 2023 manufacturing employment. This is from the Institute of Supply Management, that employment is actually in contraction, and it's down on a 44.4 number. 50, of course, above 50 is expanding, below 50 is contracting. They're a long ways below 50. They're at 44. That means employment in manufacturing is going away. And this means that there's no overtime, there's no extra shifts. They're probably reducing jobs and laying people off. So certainly doesn't go along with this narrative that where everything is just hunky-dory. And I just learned this myself. You know, Target is closing 40 stores in 2023, 40 stores, Targets. Now, these guys employ a lot of business. They're staples in a lot of the communities. Theft is a real major problem with them. They've had over $2 billion in theft over the last 3 years, just stuff walking out the store. It's very difficult for these companies, particularly if you're in California. I mean, this is just an awful thing. Walmart is closing 8 stores in Chicago, which is Chicago being one of our endangered cities. We can understand that. Let me go to my next slide. And of course, Yellow Freight is in the news absolutely every day this week. Is that it's a 100-year-old freight company, employs thousands and thousands and thousands of people. They've done an absolutely outstanding job, and they're now in bankruptcy. So that means that all the people that work for freight are going to be laid off, and their jobs are going to be at risk. But how about the fuel companies and the suppliers for Yellow Freight? How about the people that maintain their trucks and their tires? All the computing and all the contracted for all the accounting work that's done for these major companies, because this is a really big company, and the shipping goes down. So that means that there's no shipping. There's not enough shipping to maintain this company. If shipping was doing really, really well, they would not be in bankruptcy. Let me go to my next slide. Now, and to confirm that, this is kind of an odd confirmation, but you know, when you're shipping things, you need boxes, and the box manufacturers are slowing down. Actually, not even just slowing, they're literally just plunging. Look at how badly their quarters have been. And it's getting worse, which tells me that this recession is coming on us faster than we think it's possible. It does not fit with the narrative that we have a soft landing, by the way. It just doesn't fit that narrative. Now, again, this morning we got this CVS pharmacy laying off 5,000 people. That does not go along with the narrative. 5,000 people at CVS. CVS being a pretty stable organization, they're laying people off, and they'll be closing facilities, I'm sure. So here's one of the problems. This is one of the concerns. Now, if you're with Wall Street and the mainstream media, and you're with the administration, it is all to your advantage to have a narrative that says that, oh yeah, everything is fine. The economy is doing very, very well. Things are getting better. We're going to have a soft landing, and things are expanding, but there's nothing to show for that. So there's this huge divergence between the Bureau of Labor Statistics establishment surveys for employment and the Carpenter and Gray. So when you get the household surveys where they actually call people, here's what they find is that there's a lot of part-time people, a lot of people working 2 and 3 jobs. So are they being counted 2 and 3 times? You have a lot of people that are working diminished hours, and a lot of people that aren't working. And yet we have this model with the Bureau of Labor Statistics that keeps showing that labor keeps getting better and better and better. It's not contracting, but yet we get to the carpenter and gray, and it shows that it is, and our employment figures are manufacturing showing that we have some contraction. And we just got this from the Challenger report, is showing that in 2023, we're 2.5 times more job losses than in the prior years. So far this year, we've had 458,209 job cuts. Now that's the Challenger. Now these are ones that actually call people. They actually double check. They don't just use a model. When you use these models, they make the model work what they want it to say. They say that's called seasonally adjusted. And they say, oh, we should have had 300,000 new jobs, so let's just seasonally adjust it so we have 300,000 new jobs. It's kind of a bogus thing. I'm actually kind of tired of listening to this stuff, because all of the real data that we get from people actually doing the work is saying that the economy is contracting and we're losing jobs. Now, again, this is obvious as to why it's happening. It's certainly happening in my business. All you have to do is just look at the spike in interest rates. People can no longer afford it. We've had the rent to own ratio just go right out of whack. It's a lot cheaper now to rent a house than to buy one. So unless you're getting a very, very good deal, why would you do that? And when we start slowing down the real estate industry, of course, realtors don't get paid. Lenders don't get paid. You've got no loan officers getting paid, no escrow people getting paid, no title insurance, no inspectors, no appraisals, no people buying carpeting and drapes and new furniture and putting in new lighting and stuff for their new houses. So it really, really slows down the economy. It's just not real estate agents. This is a huge segment. In fact, it's the number one segment in the United States for the GDP. It counts to over 17%, and it's slowing down fast. And when it slows down, it really affects the economy. I'm telling you that this narrative of a soft landing is baloney. Let me go to the next slide. So you know that the Federal Reserve is just going to continue doing this until something breaks, and it will break, and it will not be able to be put back in its former shape. They're going to break that window. They're not going to fix it. And once it breaks, they'll start reducing rates, and it is way too late. So while we're still viable, if you need to sell a property in my business, you need to sell it, and sell it right now. I wouldn't wait 3 months or 4 months, because the market could be significantly different in 3 or 4 months than what it is now. Sell it now. If you have credit cards, get out of debt. Pay these things off. Start building some reserves. Start trying to make the decision not to buy something. Maybe you want to eat at home a little bit. Buy stuff that's on sale. Maybe don't even buy it. Don't if you have a car comes up from lease, don't buy BMW. Maybe you should lease a Camry or a low-income car. They get you around for a little bit. So let's have a little humility for the next 2 or 3 years, and then as the economy comes back, then you can do it. But in the meantime, this is now time to be conservative, because we have a recession coming, and it doesn't look like a soft landing to me. When it first starts, everyone says it's a soft landing, but typically it doesn't last that long. And I think the forces that be want to destroy the economy and are going to do that. And that's going to hurt us. That will mean that if you have something going on, you need to start protecting yourself, protecting your family. Get that extra job. If your job is a little shaky, go find one that's not. Go make yourself invaluable. Go learn an extra technique that makes you the last person that's going to get laid off. So let's go protect ourselves. If I can help in any way, you certainly can. This is where I'm at. I'm more than happy to talk with you. We're talking to a lot of people that are doing 1031 exchanges. And oh, by the way, if you like my video, I certainly would appreciate your support, and give me a thumbs up or subscribe. YouTube just loves that stuff. So if I can help in any way, be sure to reach me. My very, very best to you guys. Bye-bye now.